In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I identify a hole and set the DK-1 death clutch gopher trap. And this is the only trap that's worked for me. I have another video that you can see the 14 or 13 other methods I've used that haven't worked, but this is how I set up the one that has actually worked, and I've now killed over a dozen gophers using it. Okay, first of all, I should tell you the supplies that I use. A pair of leather gloves, because you're going to be digging and you're going to be handling some sharp gopher traps. A nice long trowel. It's great for probing, for cleaning out the tunnels. I would get some bright orange tape and a stake, and you're going to need this for marking where you put the trap. And then the stake is actually good for poking around in there. And then of course you want the DK-1, the death clutch gopher trap, and there's a link below this video on where you can find those. They're very reasonable. Get them on Amazon. So before you do anything, you got to make sure that what you have is a gopher, and then that the mound that you're going to try to trap him under, that you're going to dig through, is an active, goes to active tunnels. So okay, first of all, this is a classic gopher mound. They kind of kick the dirt out in like a little bit of a fan, and at the top here there's a plug, and basically if you dig that plug out, that's what's going to take you down to their run. Here's a ground squirrel burrow, and you see they don't really have the dirt out mounded up. This is a mole that we have that I still have to kill, and they just make mounds. They don't kind of fan it out like the pocket gopher does. So the first thing you do is identify that that's what you have, because this trap is made to get gophers. I would do the first day, you see the active mound, I would go out there, don't trap it yet, knock the dirt down, flatten it down, they don't like that, and put your stake out there, because you want to make sure that this is an active area, or else you're just going to waste your time setting the trap. Okay, so you come back and you're like, wow, he's back. That kind of ticked him off that I was kicking his dirt around. So there's a couple fresh mounds, and so pick, I don't know why, I kind of pick the one that's the most uphill, because I think their living quarters tend to be more uphill. So of the mounds, you want the one that's going to get you the best access to their main run. So I don't know, I just start with picking the uphill one, and what you do is you kind of get that dirt a little bit out of your way, and then with your trowel start feeling around until you can feel the shaft that's going down to the main run. So just kind of reach in there and poke around, and pretty soon you're going to feel it break through. Now if you don't feel it break through, and you just keep digging and digging and you never feel it break through to a run, then forget it. You're wasting your time on that one. Throw the dirt back on it and go and find one where you can feel down their little shaft until it breaks through. And you'll probably be just above your wrist reaching in there, and now you know you've got a good one to set the trap in. The DK-1 is probably, I don't know, 3.5 inches across when it's open and ready to go. So you want to make sure that the shaft is wide enough that you can get that thing down in there, and also high enough that you don't hit the trigger as you're putting it in and it snaps. So take your trowel, just kind of clean that out, and then reach down there with your hand, your gloved hand, there's gophers are not going to bite you, and pull the dirt out, really smooth it so you've sort of opened it up, and you can really get that trap in where it needs to go. And you know, the wider the hole, the more it's going to bother the gopher, and the more they're going to want to come and they're going to go over the trap to try to get dirt back up into that hole you made and plug it up, because you've now opened up the daylight and the air to their main run. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is set the trap. And by the way, I would recommend hooking your trap to something, because I've lost one of these to coyotes. I did not have it sufficiently hooked down, and they ran off with the gopher and it took the trap with them. So this wire is probably a little bit thick, but a piece of wire, and there's a loop at the end of the trap. Just make sure that's closed. You may need to squeeze that with some pliers. Hook your wire on there, hook it to a stick or just something big that's hard to drag around. And this is how you set a DK-1 trap. First of all, make sure the spring is undone. Make sure the spring is not attached. So these things, so that the two spikes move freely. And this is one thing I like about this trap, is that you can set it without the spring set. So it's a lot easier on you. You should be wearing gloves. I'm not wearing gloves right now, but I would recommend you wear gloves. So the first thing you do is you take this little piece of wire that's kind of dangling out here over the end, and you bring it around. So the little edge of it is grabbing the edge of the spike there, and it's just kind of hanging on to that. Bend the end of the wire and scoop the trigger over the top of it and scoot the trigger down a little ways. It's just holding it until you can get the spring on. Then you firmly grab it with your thumb like this, and with your other hand, bring it around, and you set the spring. Now right now, the trigger, it's got too much wire, so if a thing hits it, it's not gonna set it off. So then what you do is you gradually click the trigger towards you. Click the bottom of it, and you lean it so it's just on the edge of the trigger wire there. And then if something hits this, like that, gopher going over it, those go together and those will trap the gopher. With the trap set, place it down in the hole and do it really carefully so you don't set the trigger off and snap the trap. Then you got to pull it out and reset it. Push it down in there. It's pretty much going to be as far as it can go, but you definitely want it so that the two spike ends are down in that main run, and that's going to mean that the handle's probably just disappearing down the hole a little bit. And just let the piece of wood trail behind it. Once you got it set like that, then stick your stake in the dirt nearby so you can find it easily, and then leave the hole open, because again, they don't like the open air and the sunlight, and that's what's going to make them want to come through the trap to replug it with dirt. How soon do you check the trap? I would leave it a day. I just go away, do something else, and come back in 24 hours or come back the next morning to check the trap. I know people say that you can catch them within a really short amount of time, an hour or two. That's fine. I would leave it so in case they're gonna want to come and get caught, you wouldn't scare them away by bumping it around. And so go out there where your trap was and you take a look. Now a couple things might have happened. Number one, the trap may be kind of pulled in the hole a little bit, and that's probably a good sign. That means you may have got your gopher. Pull that thing out and congratulations, you got a gopher. Another thing that happens more commonly is that you're gonna have just a bunch of dirt kicked onto the trap. The trap may be sprung, there's no gopher in it, and it's just got a bunch of dirt kicked on it. That's not bad. That means that you kind of ticked them off. They do not like that run open. So get your trap out, and what you're gonna need to do is dig the hole even a little bit deeper and a little bit wider to get the trap in there a little bit further. And as you get it out and you're setting it, take a look, because sometimes I've seen there's fur and a little bit of gopher guts on there, and you may have gutted a gopher and it may be sick or dying, so it may have sort of done its job. So anyway, if there's activity on that, reset the trap and use that same spot. The third thing that might happen is there's just no activity. The trap is exactly as you set it. The hole is wide open, it hasn't been sprung, the gopher hasn't been there, and you could wait another day, but my guess is that for some reason they've abandoned that hole and it's not worth it to have a trap in it. So I would pull that trap, fill that hole in with dirt, and go and find another active mound that you can trap. That's it. It's that simple. This is what has worked for me in Oregon, in the Willamette Valley, when a bunch of other methods did not work. So I would love to know, maybe you're where there's sandy soil, maybe it's drier, maybe these other kinds of traps have worked for you. If you've been as frustrated as I have and as spent as much as I have on a bunch of different traps that did not work, then I would encourage you to give this one a try. There's a link below the video here and where you can order all the stuff I talked about, the supplies, and especially the DK-1 trap to give it a try. So give it a try. Don't be discouraged. You're gonna get those gophers, and then let me know how you do. I would love to hear your feedback on what's worked for you.